200 hot seat questions. 1. What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? 2. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? 3. What's one thing you've never told anyone? 4. If you could have dinner with any 3 people dead or alive, who would they be? 5. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken? 6. What's your most embarrassing moment? 7. If you could live in any era, which would it be and why? 8. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? 9. What's one thing you wish you could change about yourself? 10. What's your biggest fear? 11. What's the most unusual place you've ever visited? 12. If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be? 13. What's your most treasured possession? 14. What's the best gift you've ever received? 15. What's your guilty pleasure? 16. Describe your perfect day. 17. What's the hardest lesson you've ever learned? 18. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? 19. What's the most memorable book or movie you've ever experienced? 20. If you could change one event in history, what would it be? 21. What's something you've always wanted to try but have been too scared to? 22. What's the most meaningful conversation you've ever had? 23. If you were president for a day, what's the first thing you would do? 24. What's your biggest pet peeve? 25. If you could know the absolute truth to one question, what would it be? 26. What's something you're incredibly bad at but love to do anyway? 27. What's the most beautiful place you've ever been? 28. What's one habit you wish you could break? 29. What's your favorite memory from childhood? 30. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? 31. What's something you're proud of but never have an excuse to talk about? 32. What's the best compliment you've ever received? 33. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be? 34. What's the most challenging thing you've ever done? 35. What's your dream job? 36. What's something you've done that you never thought you'd do? 37. What's the biggest misconception people have about you? 38. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? 39. What's your secret talent? 40. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from a failure? 41. What's something you've always wanted to learn? 42. If you could be a character in any book or movie, who would you be? 43. What's the most important thing you look for in a friend? 44. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? 45. What's one thing you're looking forward to in the next year? 46. What's something that makes you unique? 47. If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and why? 48. What's the best way to spend a rainy day? 49. What's something you believe in that not everyone does? 50. If you had to teach something, what would you teach?